your veterinarian, you move them to a different enclosure, a different area, a more populated area, a more active area. I guess I look at that and say, can you, I don't know that you can assume the behavior of these animals in a totally different environment.
Great question, and this is why there's confusion. So,
Yes.
yes, so my vet, Dr. Barr, was explaining this. If I took those cats and I placed them at Pat Craig's place, the environment's different, people that feed them different, there's public, a lot of stress. Those animals won't survive, they will die, period. I've seen it. When Six Flags took over California and Marine Africa, USA, a lot of animals died of stress. What we're doing here, Commissioner, is we're taking these cats and putting them into the exact same environment. And let me explain what I mean. They would have the same animals that's been next to them for their whole life. They would have the same two people, the same diet. They would have the same kind of enclosure that's set up. That means that there's a deck, a tree, so everything's the same. And really, there's more activity over in County Road 150 with more activity there than where they would be at the new location. With the traffic, with the trucks, with planes, ATVs going right down 150. And that's really why, one thing I never do, Commissioner, is I never assume something with an animal. I don't get that opportunity. You know, one thing, a little personal note, that my mentor taught me was the very first thing he says, the word sorry doesn't fit in this business. I don't get a chance to turn to her and say, I'm sorry I left the gate open and had to put an animal down. I don't get a chance to look at all these neighbors, the commissioners, the staff that put the work in, and said, oh, I'm sorry, I was wrong. When I talk about these 11 animals, I'm not wrong, Commissioner. And it's not an ego thing. It's just something that I don't, for 24 years I never assumed things, and I won't assume it here today, talking to you.
The only thing is, have you ever experienced the move of these animals?
Yes, we've had to move them internally.
Correct, but have you ever had to change locations and transport someone?
Internally, yes. We've had
So Commissioner, what happened is, where the bears were in Compound 1, most of those cats were there. That's all they knew. They knew concrete, and they knew a roof over their head. That's all they knew for 10 years, if not longer. So the new environment came, was when we moved them down by where you saw the two African lions. So we moved them there. We gave them grass, no roof, new logs, new benches, new surroundings. They walked in there, they walked a little funny on the grass, but they had to do on the grass. And that's what they do. And they made that their home. And so if I took them and put them into a new facility, as long as everything's the same, which it would be, they would react the same way. And plus now they're 10 years older, so they don't move that well. But they would have the same reaction as I did.
If you have any more questions, I'll ask it. I could ask Sheriff Eaton.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning, Sheriff.
I say good morning because we still have a full day of work left to do, and I expect you to stick around for it. So. What can I do for you?
Well, what I would like to ask is you've had a chance to, you've seen the preliminary or proposed emergency operations plan for the facility. Would you comment on that?
Sure. Can you hear me? All right. So I received the EAP on Tuesday, April 4th. I think it was sent to me on Tuesday, April 3rd in the evening. On Tuesday, April 5th, it was actually due back to you guys. So I had somewhere between 4 and 5 hours that evening to work on it. So
Shane, you gotta help me, please speak a little bit louder.
come on, Graham. I received the EAP on Tuesday, April 4th. It was due back to the BOCC on Tuesday, April 5th. So my time reviewing it was pretty limited. During that time, I guess what I'll do is tell you about the things that I didn't see in the EAP that I would expect to be addressed. First of all, a document of that level would certainly need to have a pretty specific standard format to it, to include, who was prepared by, when it was prepared, who signed off on it, what the revisions were, what the next revision date was, things of that nature. In a very broad view, I guess I'd say that that document would need to contain purpose and goals, to include the associated equipment documents. So I'm talking almost like an outline at this point, right? So purpose and goals, proximity to schools, access contingencies, specific responses to common emergencies, specific responses to critical and large-scale emergencies, guidelines for reporting and escape, key authority rules. I think that should be in the ICS system. So we're talking about incident command, ops chief, ops supervisor, comms, everything that goes on in that kind of a standard format. Detailed responsibilities for all staff, that would have to be arranged in launch school units. Tracking and documenting key response elements. Critical security perimeter, list of dangerous deadly species, key staff contact numbers, procedures for animals that left the site, procedures for after-hours issues or emergencies, site evacuation plans, interface planning with local authorities, training drills, neighbor notification comms plans, an example of specific responses to common emergencies and kind of more of those serious emergencies. So that first part would be like an outline. Secondly, what you have to do is get back into, a specific response to a common emergency. So you talk about a gas failure utility leak. So in that, and I look at it almost like a flip chart for what we do for the schools, right? If you have a bomb threat, you do this. This is the person you call, this is what their number is, these are the actions you take, and it spells the entire thing out. So for example, like on utility failure and gas leak, it would be, you would report all those failures to your specific provider, not necessarily in this order, right? What their number is, describe conditions, prepare to evacuate yourself, know there's needed, follow whatever animal care protocols there were in dealing with those emergencies, and follow the rest of the protocols. Does that make sense? So underneath those common emergencies, I would expect also to see power failure, water failure, HVAC failure, gas leak, explosion hazard, network computer phone failure, lost child or walk away. That's something we deal with a lot. You get someone showing up on that site that's, a kid or, someone with dementia or something like that, that's an issue. First aid medical issues, bloodborne pathogens, biohazards, severe weather, fire procedures, animal escape. Specifically with that, like life safety priorities, so those animal escapes, what are you going to do in what order, and who are you going to contact when. Safe areas, active shooter or armed intruders, trespass issues, bomb threats, crisis communication plans, emergency evacuation ops, or comm plans. That's what I would expect to see in a document like that. Do you want to talk about the existing document?
Please say again, sir?
Do you want to talk about the existing document?
Yeah.
Yes.
Don't
Yes.
self-post it,
Yes.
complies to what you got, you said it.
Well, those things aren't in the existing document. That would be what I would add to that. But you guys have the existing document, so do you want to run through that existing one?
Shane, if you could.
Okay. So, specifically, so the telephone number for the sheriff's office is actually the administrative phone tree and not a route to our dispatch center, so I would change that to just 911 is always a good number to call, or specifically that dispatch number. There's a page in there that says animal enclosure plan will be updated if permit is approved. I'm not really sure what to do with that because I don't have an enclosure plan because it's not been approved. right? A document like this, I would say the pages of the document should be numbered. Additionally, items should have consecutive numbers. Don't repeat page after page. So if we're going through a document like this, you'll refer to page or item 6. Well, or I don't know if there's that many. Maybe item 4. Well, there's 4 item 4s. So that's another. I don't like that. If you guys follow along, disaster preparedness and number 2, in the event of an emergency, it starts with that. I said, is this true in all emergencies? And what is classified in the EUP as an emergency? Those definitions need to be there. Disaster preparedness number 3, it says the appropriate agency will be notified of the emergency. I read this as staff on site determining what agency they're going to notify. That goes kind of back to the EAP, but bigger than that. That's not a good plan. Disaster preparedness number 5. It says state emergency services. I'm not familiar with the state having an emergency services entity that would be applicable to this. Animal escape protocol. I want to know if those items were listed in order of action. I think that's a pretty important issue. Animal escape protocol number 4. Specifically, how will those agencies be notified? Animal escape protocol number 5. Just need a clarification. It says animals are monitored 24 hours a day. So I don't know if that means that there's a staff member always watching the animals via electronic means. And I mean, we do security cameras for pretty much for 2 reasons, or we set them up 2 different ways. It's either people that are always monitoring and they're sitting there watching them all the time, or they're to go back and see what happens so you can figure out. It's evidentiary. That's about it. Excuse me. Animal escape protocol number 6. I think that's just a typo. It says EBSO. I'm sure that's ECSO. If that's correct, the sheriff's office, the fire department, all those other alphabet agencies out there should probably be addressed at the beginning of the document, so to say who they are. Under firearm policy, what licenses does staff have regarding firearms? It actually talks about licensing. Under firearm policy, I'll leave that one. Under safety protocols, it talks about fire extinguishers. I was a firefighter in a different line. TJ's not here, I'm not proud of that. But it talks about CO2 extinguishers. CO2 extinguishers are specific for Class B and C fires, which are flammable liquids, flammable gases. So to have fire extinguishers that can't put out paper or wood or things like that, that should be addressed. But that would be a fire call. Under safety protocols, talk about lighting and have the ability to turn on lights and monitor animals at night. But earlier in the document, it talked about the animals being monitored 24 hours a day, so I just want to know what those cameras look like. Are they IR cameras, or what's that look like? Under security protocols, who specifically the staff members that have keys? How can keys be accessed without the staff? As you know, Commissioner Wilcox, something along the line of a Knox box or something like that. So emergency responders have access. Under security protocols, no trespassing signs posted at specific distances in accordance with statute. And that's about all the time I had that evening to get that stuff done. You have any questions for me on that?
Sum it up. How close are you to having one that you would be comfortable with?
I don't have one. I haven't seen anything back. Couple points of clarification, if that's okay?
Go ahead, please.
Just from some of the comments that were made, I strongly support people's property rights. However, just from some of the comments, I don't believe it's a property rights issue. If it was a property rights issue, that would be in the bundle of rights, and we wouldn't be sitting here today. So I think it's kind of a misnomer and misleading to keep pushing that out there that this is property rights. If that was part of your bundle of rights, you would already have it. So that's why we're here, correct? Okay. Secondly, and sorry I'm going to do this, but It's actually life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and the government has no need to provide you with happiness. That's up to us as individuals. So I think that's an important thing to clarify too. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay. Yes, sir.
We've already had the public,
We've,
yeah. We'll ask the questions.
Our property adjoins the second 40 acres that they have. Couple comments, one related to fire, the other related to Judge Allen's Road. Last summer, we had a lightning strike on one of the trees.
Commissioners, I can't, I'm sure there's no one else can.
if you're going, if we're gonna allow people, please. Well, you know what, if we open this up again,
If I'm gonna create a problem, I'll sit down.
yes, sir, we had it open to public comment. Sir, I apologize for usually talking with this.
It's something you should know, but I'm not gonna make an issue.
Sir, we've heard quite a bit. Okay, have that back. All right, at this point, yeah. If you folks had any more comments or questions?
Just give us a summary.
Yes.
I don't think we have anything else to add.
Thank you.
And we are certainly able to answer more questions if you like, but I don't think we have anything to add. Do you have any? No. Ready for motion? And you? Ready?
Yeah.
All right.
And then there'll be a little bit of discussion.
There will be some discussion.
So, I'm gonna go ahead and move that for purposes of discussion, we consider approval of SU 16-0019 Lion State Animal Sanctuary, use by special review for the construction and operation of an exotic animal sanctuary on the property located in a portion of Section 18, Township 9 South, Range 64 West of the 6th Prime Meridian.
I'll second that motion so that we can have discussion. Please don't assume that any one of us are going to vote one way or another. This is just to get the discussion started amongst us.
Okay, at this point, discussion.
Well, I made the motion, so I'll jump in. When news of this kind of first popped up, I mean, we really don't get the full information until we hold a hearing such as this. To me, it seemed relatively simple. You know, we've got a facility operating on a piece of property, agricultural property in Elbert County. They want to move to another piece of agricultural property in Elbert County. Old cats. Just again, it seemed like a fairly simple thing until you start learning more. There were several comments about special uses. Exotic animals are keeping of exotic animals is special use on agricultural property, but not all agricultural property is the same. We've got agricultural properties that range from 35 acres to 35,000, nearly 35,000 acres in this county, and obviously they're very different. And this is a special use, and the individual circumstances need to be considered. As I said when we kind of opened discussion with the applicant, the areas I was really looking at is I do see this as balancing public safety with private property rights. And in this case, since we're making a decision that could put the citizens at risk, and it's our responsibility to ensure we're mitigating that risk. I don't doubt the applicant's sincerity and desire to do exactly what is right for these animals. And I think that they're making a good effort to do what they think is right for their neighbors. I am very concerned about the emergency plan. citizens raised concerns about the emergency plan in the community meetings in the summer of last year. In November of last year, in the referral comments received, there was a requirement for a disaster emergency management plan. On the 21st of March, it was made a condition of approval, and then a very, very rudimentary plan was provided on the 4th. Yeah, I know, that priorities are caring for current animals, but, there were strong indications this was an issue that was going to be a concern back last summer, and to really not put, it appears that plan wasn't really even put to paper until after the planning commission hearing was complete, and that does concern me. Yeah.
Can I ask you, when was this, you said, what document was this, brought to our attention that an emergency management plan would be needed?
That was a referral comments that were provided by the Elizabeth Fire Department in November 16.
Okay, and our understanding, just to clarify, was that that would be something that we would have to do as a condition of approval. And I didn't think we had to do this in advance. It was Alex Jakubowski from the Office of Emergency Management that said, I think that would be something we really need to work on. Can we start now? And so we said yes. So we've only been at it at a very rudimentary level just recently. So that was not my understanding at all.
And I understand that. I just, in my mind, that is something that you would have started with. And I'm not saying anybody told you you could or couldn't.
Okay.
It's just something I personally would have been addressing the highest risk first when there's community concerns. And then the final, as I said earlier, the way the conditions are currently written, we're the final approval, except for the 4 other people that then have to approve work that's done after this meeting. And I really don't find that acceptable to myself. That's what I've got to say.
I like that Mr. Herrera was not born in this country, and I enjoy the comment life, liberty, and prosperity, and all of those buzzwords. But one of the things you got to remember is that's a two-edged sword. The neighbors also have the rights to pursue those issues in the manner that they see fit. So I understand what you said. I interpret that argument differently than what you do. But coming back to the real issue here, is I sat down as I was reading the application here, and my first list was reasons to vote yes. And then I put my list of reasons to vote no. And I've got to tell you, my list to vote no was longer than my reasons to vote yes. But the reasons to vote yes are property rights. I agree with that. Good people with a righteous cause. I accept that. The animals need to go somewhere. And we can argue, although I can argue it either way, that meets the requirements of the special use review. There's many items within that recommendation that are very subjective in my mind and very open to interpretation. I spent 14 years on the Planning Commission, in which I warned the applicant that I had done that so that there wouldn't be any mystery. But some of these special review requirements are very subjective. So I can argue that in a positive way or in a negative way. Another reason to vote yes is the history of prairie wind safety. It suggests that they know what they're doing. And having spent 14 years in the Planning Commission, I didn't think I would ever vote against a Planning Commission recommendation. Although it was a split vote, it was very close, so I'm not sure how to take that. Will it impair property values? I don't know. To me, it's not a strong enough argument either way. So then it goes to my list of reasons to vote no. Probably the strongest reason for me to vote no, if that's what I should do, is precedent. This application was there in 2006. I don't see that this one's materially different, except that they've been working, living with Prairie Winds for 10 years. So that, to me, suggests that they know what they're doing. On the other side of the coin, the community along Judge Adams Road has changed somewhat. It's become, although it's still agricultural generally, it's become more dense. Out there on County Road 150, we can argue that there's been 3 or 4 houses built there in the last 10 years. And I live out there. I have no objection to them being where they're at. As a reason to vote no, I'd probably say it's where it belongs. The frustrating thing for me, and I already asked that question several times when we're doing our question and answer period with the applicant, is the inconsistency within the application itself. There's all sorts of different things like 11, 12, 13, 15, whether the animals were neutered, whether they're not, whether they got paws, whether they're not. I guess it's the engineering in me that comes out. I have great frustration with inconsistency. The disaster emergency plan, Chris addressed that, so I'm not going to. The logic of building this facility to house these animals for such a short period of time and the duration of the expected SUR puzzles me. The short lifespan of the let me try that again. When I get excited, I start to stutter. The short lifespan due to the expected death of the animals. Why would you do this? What will they do with the facility when the last critter dies? You've already addressed that. The question of a public road versus a private road, to me it doesn't sway me one way or the other, but it does rise a question. And again, I mentioned this to the applicant when we were having the question and answer period. I have this discomfort, and it's real or imagined, we can argue that point, is that we're being set up for a new SUR in 2, 3, 4 years. I don't know. I can't make that a condition of approval or address that. I'm just talking about, I think several of the statements by the public were also suggesting that kind of a concern. The current location versus the new location, they are not similar. The density of the population in the area is different. You take the Agate location, it's a lot further away from any town or concentration of population. You can say, well, Chaparral is right there, but when we were given the pleasure of coming to your facility, we went and drove to Chaparral just to make sure that we had an understanding of it. And it was clear that it was at least 1.5 to 2 miles away, I think. And on that side of the thing, it's fairly lightly populated. And again, just looking at Google Maps that you guys provided to us, or I think it was Google Maps, the potential flooding conditions at the new location to me are not any different than the old location. The old location has 2 big drainages there, and again, the engineering may come out. I walked where the flooding was coming, and even me with a little Kubota tractor and a backhoe could fix that pretty quickly. Somebody sent me a picture, or it's in these supports and negatives, a picture of the Running Creek that's right there. Looks like it has a potential for flooding too, and this has a little bit to do with my concern about the private road. That's it. The current location has an in-situ water supply that's from a well, so that gives me less concern about the water issue. The harmony and compatibility issue is, again, very subjective. It's an existing community. The staff explanation of harmony and compatibility didn't satisfy my view of it at all. Enough said. And just as a point, the horse video didn't impress me at all. That didn't have anything to do with the application. I understand why you did it, but it didn't affect my assessment of the application. I thought that.
Well, you took the most of mine.
I even thought of that.
And could be others. I could go down my list, I'm not gonna do that. I guess I asked a number of questions. And I asked them because I believe when we make this decision, we have to make it based on the other citizens involved and the safety of everybody involved. I don't live by it. I live miles away. But my decision is gonna be based on the answers you provided for me and the security I have that this facility would be safe, and that you're looking at it from a point of view that you're focusing on the safety of everyone involved. Okay, and I didn't see that, and it's gonna come to a couple comments. If that was your point where your focus, I truly believe you would have tried to involve everybody in a more public approach. I think you would have gone out and done more of an outreach to people. Because truly you had to understand how sensitive people are to an environment like that. You had to see it. And that was one thing that I was a little concerned with. I have to tell you, is I think I would have taken that approach, knowing that, you know what, maybe I can get some support if these people understood what I was trying to do. Now I commend you folks for what you do. I really do. But I don't think, you know, with the comments that Chris and Grant have made here, because they covered most of mine, other than the public approach is one, and the other thing is that I truly, and I tend to disagree with you, is you do not know how those animals are going to react in a move. And I know they've been there, but you're moving them miles as compared to moving them to the same view around and everything else, and that concerns me. And I just, those are assumptions that really relate to safety. So that's my comment. So, but again, I do commend you folks for taking care of that, and I truly believe that if you're looking at them, I think they're your best. And I know how I look at my best. All right. We got a motion, you're seconding my comment.
So the motion was for us.
The motion was for us to consider, we got a second,
So we,
so let's, take the vote to consider,
I think it was probably.
or to amend
I
the motion.
withdraw the motion.
Okay.
Just based on the conversation, I'm gonna withdraw my initial, motion, for consideration, for discussion, and just, move that the, I just move that the Board of County Commissioners deny the application SU-16-0019 Lionsgate Animal Sanctuary use by special review for the construction and operation of an exotic animal sanctuary on property located in a portion of Section 18, Township 9 South, Range 64 west of the 6th prime meridian.
I second.
Okay.
Aye.
Diane, could you please record the vote?
Commissioner Richardson,
Aye.
Commissioner Wilcox,
Aye.
Commissioner Thayer,
I want the applicant to know this is probably the most difficult vote that I've made in my lifetime as either a planning commission or a county commissioner. This was not easy.
You know, thank you for your efforts. This is truly a hard decision. I wish you the best, and hopefully you can maintain where you're at.
And I would say the same, was not simple, I don't doubt your passion for the animals. I'd recommend, I mean, I know there's fundraising, there's monies that you set aside, I would really look at mitigating as best you can where you're at and make those animals comfortable.
This time, a motion to,
Are we done?
we're done to,
I move to adjourn.
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.